No, ultimate. I've been a fan of Katie since she was at Waukee, you know. Actually, I'm a really big fan of the Drake's team. I think, you know, I like to think we play pretty similar. We recruit a lot of similar kids. I've recruited half their lineup, right? And then there's a time you go a different direction, or they do, right? So usually this series, someone has that type of game. You know, someone usually does, whether it's one of the stars, sometimes it's a role player. But, you know, I have the ultimate respect for her.
The player that had the big game on your side was Iowa Hawkeyes putting up 27 points and 10 rebounds. Just kind of talk me through her, and she got going right away in the first quarter.
Yeah, you know, I think if you look back in this series, Drake they play that 5 out. They play, I call it small ball, and it's really good. And it's hard if you have a traditional center. So, you know, back to our Gustafson years and Sonano years, when we have won it, we go down a wire usually over here. But that inside presence, if you can stay pretty efficient with how you score, you can counter all of their small ball action, right? So we were hopeful that Addie was going to have a game. But I try not to put that much pressure and expectation, because this is the first time she's really wearing that role, right? Wearing the go-to, wearing, hey, we're going to go into Addie. And I was really pleased. And I think the biggest probably compliment I can get her is I'm now starting to have Sonano and Gustafson expectations. I was kind of cranky at a couple things she did out there. And that means that the expectations are growing, but I only know they're growing because I know she can do it.
Can you speak to the emotions or whatever's gone through your mind the last 24 hours wearing Drake stuff last night, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, being in this position for the very first time as the head coach.
Yeah.
Have this kind of a time.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, you kind of grow up here, right? You know, and I was thinking how blessed I was. I mean, how many people, and it's probably more than I think, but how many people can say that they've really gotten to be such a special part of 2 really good programs? I mean, that's where I feel so blessed. I mean, in this state, I mean, I always sing the praises of Iowa because it has always supported women's sports. I mean, my grandmother's in the Hall of Fame, you know, if you study my story, right? But I don't know why it's so weird, but I think the fact of there's pressure, right? I mean, the Bluters, you know, we've won here a few times, but I just feel so overwhelmed because I really love this place, and it was just a weird one to play. Last night, Drake did a fantastic job. They had a 50-year celebration, and I don't know how many players came back, but being a player here in the late 80s, early 90s, I knew all those faces because they'd come back. And then when I coached here, we worked really hard for the alumni, right? And then when they were all together last night, it was really a moment, but it was stressful because it was lovely. And then we had the founders, right? And then we had early eras. We had my teammates. And then I had a lot of our players that we recruited, the Tammy Blackstones. We've lost 2 great Bulldogs, and Lisa Brinkmeyer and Missy Lang. And you could feel their presence. But then the interesting thing, the current team was there. At my table was Grace Knutson, you know. And it was a beautiful thing, though. But it was just like all of this happening. And when you really love a place, it just was a lot of emotion. And I think I wanted to do well today. I wanted to win, but I wanted to do well for all of it. And I just am so proud and so thankful that I get this role. So I think the emotion is relief that I got through the first one. But it's felt like this since 2000. I was just kind of missing my buddies, Lisa and Jenny. We usually all simmered, you know, kind of like, we're good, you good, we're good, right? But honestly, when the ball went up, then it was just like, 95% of the people out there didn't even probably realize I played here, right? Unless they, they're just hating the other side. So anyway, yes, I'm thankful. I think the world of Allison. Kelly Terrell Greenway was our manager. So we just have a lot of ties, and I'm grateful.
Jan, I think you guys had 5 players, 4 fouls, trying to balance all of that. I guess you really wouldn't be able to tell just based on your team's body language and the way they respond to it. I guess, what did you kind of say to them in the huddle? How were they able to kind of show maturity just to not let other factors dictate the way the game?
Yeah, I think our staff stayed steady, right? And sometimes I try to remember how I'd like to be coached and how I'd like to be motivated when the chips are down. And I try to stay steady. And we were, just trying to tell them that, okay, we practice. We've been in all these situations. You try to do game situations. But I think this team is, what I really love about them is they're really for each other. And they don't get too down on each other if someone gives up a layup or blows a switch or whatever. And I just try to keep celebrating what they were doing well and also giving credit to Drake. I mean, that's what you do. It's a game of runs always, especially on your home floor. And so I just try to keep telling them, like, look, you're answering. Yes, we've given it up, but we did this, right? And I think they really believe that and bought into that.
Speaking of runs, you guys had a big one right there before half, the 10-0 run. How important was that to a pretty even first half?
Yeah.
You guys going into the half?
Yeah, no, I think that was really huge, especially, for our relatively younger team in the minutes that they played in big games, right? Because in the past, we've had a lot of players that were in these big games, but they dominated a lot of the minutes. So I thought that was a really huge spurt just to go in, and they kind of knew that they did something pretty well. So I thought that was hugely important. I think it might have swung the game.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep, thank you.